Welcome back to Gentlemen, it's your boys, holding it down here, and we are back and better than ever. We have recovered from a crazy sickness. I don't know if it was a cold, flu, and or possibly COVID. Oh my god, it still exists. Your boy's ass was getting eaten. Beaten. It was getting beaten. Nothing was getting eaten. Either way, we'll jump right into it because NASA is heading back to the moon and the base is planned to be built with a $20 billion budget. There's 3 phases to said plan for NASA. We'll go through it and we'll discuss why or how this is exactly. The timing's curious and everything about it is fascinating to me because moon, exciting. Space, fun, says guy in cow shirt. So phase 1, build, test, learn. NASA and its commercial partners will regularly send rovers, instruments, and technology to the moon to test mobility, power, communications, navigation, and scientific tools. Phase 2, early infrastructure. NASA and its commercial partners will begin building semi-habitable areas for astronauts with help from international partners like Japan Aerospace Exploratory Agency, also known as JAXA. This infrastructure will also enable astronauts to operate on the moon's surface consistently. Now, phase 3.
You know, Stone Cold, like a little White Castle action. Well, I'm busy fighting off aliens when I'm busy beating the crap out of Will Smith in Independence Day or beating him up in iRobot. Stone Cold ET is gonna whoop some ass. Give me a hell yeah. Oh, hell yeah. Stone Cold ET is gonna whoop some ass. And that's the bottom line.
Things get juicy. Long-term presence. NASA and its commercial partners will deliver large habitats and vehicles, including equipment from international partners such as Italian Space Agency and the Canadian Space Agency, CSA and ASI, respectively, as they transition from short-term trips to permanent human presence on the moon. Now, the moon base will not appear overnight, according to a NASA spokesperson. Quote, "We will invest approximately $20 billion over the next 7 years and build it through dozens of missions working together with commercial and international partners towards a deliberate and achievable plan." Boom, reading, nailed it.
Do a barrel roll.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack from this story, right? Because I think it's fascinating on so many different layers. The first one, I think is the fairly obvious one, is the idea of the price point and time. You're telling me that U.S. officials, NASA, international agencies, everyone involved here is going to build a base on the moon in 7 years? I find that hard to believe because we can barely... Okay, I live in New Jersey. There was a sinkhole on Route 80. Route 80, very popular route highway in New Jersey. It gets you a lot of places. It can get you all the way to California if you really put your mind and soul to it, okay? Route 80, very important when it comes to travel. It took months to fill up a sinkhole. You're telling me the same people... I'm assuming for some reason New Jersey's in charge of everything. But you're telling me the same type of human beings are going to be responsible for building a base on the moon. Now, I get it. We've been there plenty of times, allegedly. And that's all true. Other countries have done it. So maybe that they're going to push the handle here and force the U.S. to actually fall through with what they plan on doing here, and NASA to push them and make sure that you're actually going to say or do what you say, right? And I have a hard time believing 7 years. Now, I don't know anything about international space travel. The guy in, once again, a cow t-shirt does not know much about the scientifics or economic factors when it pertains to traveling to the moon. But I do think 7 years, bit of an undersell. What's also an undersell to me is the idea that you can do this for only $20 billion. Everyone is so casual about the idea of putting a base on the moon. Now, I get it. In 2025, 2026, maybe if you ask someone in the 80s, this has already been achieved by now. The fact that it hasn't happened maybe says it's a bit of an indictment on us as humans, because movies have been telling us we should have been there quite some time ago. Now, maybe 2030 is the idea timeline where we actually get a temporary base at least, and we're hanging out on the moon. But $20 billion is interesting to me, right? Because you always hear these numbers of the price points being set of attacking other countries. The U.S. very casual with attacking other countries these days. But you see the price point when it comes to when they're sending these military equipment to other countries, or they're bombing other countries, and you see how much money is being spent on war. And it's crazy that it only took, or allegedly is only going to take $20 billion to build a base on the freaking moon. Why hasn't anybody done this before yet? You're telling me out of all the millionaires and billionaires, quadrillionaires out there in the world, no one's been like, you know what we should probably do? Build a base on the moon. That seems like a cool thing to do. That seems like something that would be of substance when it comes to technology advancements, or just the idea of having anybody on the moon. Fascinating, right? So I don't know, 20 billion, 7 years. I think both are pretty decent undersells. Now, maybe it happens in my lifetime. To be fair, given the state of the world and the cold that I just recovered from, I don't know how much longer I got on this planet. Maybe your boy takes a trip to Switzerland and just, calls it a day. No, I'm kidding. That is not the way to go, everybody. But yeah, the fascination with how much the undersell to me that this is going to be is interesting. Now, it's one of those things where you have to, I guess, hold the people accountable here. We're talking about Italians, we're talking about the Japanese, we're talking about the Canadians, Americans, as well as NASA. All these people combined together, big brain activity. Maybe they do get it done. I just think, once again, it took months, almost a year, for me to be able to drive on Route 80 with no issues. And that was only for a couple sinkholes. Now, they were pretty large sinkholes, right? So I will give them credit. Maybe it takes a little bit of time, but I'm just saying, it took a couple months to figure that out. And you're telling me it's only going to take a couple of years to put a base on the moon? I don't know, bro. I don't know. Now, also the timing of this, very fascinating to me as well, because it seems like the world's in array. There's a lot of violence going on, a lot of attacks going on, and a lot of uncertainty, especially when it comes to war, obviously, which is nothing new. I think planet Earth, shout out to Phoenix, bless you. We've kind of been accustomed, unfortunately, to living in a very chaotic world that is very neutral about having war. Just let it happen, just as long as your bills are paid. War is okay. So you got that going on. And then also the advances of AI, the climate that's going on. Is this an escape plan by the wealthy? All these world leaders, it seem to be very casual with the idea of the world just imploding, right? Maybe this is their, last desperate move. Maybe this is a future reality show where all the rich elites people on a little base on the moon, and they got a live stream of everybody going crazy, zombie outbreak. This is a little conspiracy. Once again, cow t-shirt. So what am I talking about? Who knows? But I do think the timing is curious because we're in a weird situation right now when it comes to the world. There's once again a lot of uncertainty. So what happens here? Why is now all of a sudden? Why wasn't this the goal during the great space race back in the day between Russia and the US and everyone else trying to get to the moon first? Why wasn't the idea of, throwing up a base then? Why did it stop? What did we see back then? Transformers, Rise of the Moon, we knew what happened. There's Autobots and Decepticons on the moon. Now, I am curious, maybe there is some more discovery to be found on the moon. I feel like we probably discovered everything we could at this point in regards to the moon. And what is the ultimate end game for having a base on the moon? Like, that is I think the most important question here, because once science advancements, research, cool, everything else in between, there's got to be an ultimate purpose for why are we trying to make the moon habitable? Who gets to live on said moon? Because it's not as big as Big Earth. So I'm curious what that means, and maybe the potential if things go well on the moon, I don't know, 30 years from now, probably not in my lifetime, once again, maybe there's a big reset, dinosaurs come back and now they're in space. But I'm curious to know, when is the base considered a success? How long do you stay on said base? Is there a return back option? Because I think for me, my assumption, as someone that knows nothing about space, is once you go on said moon base and you're committed to building out moon base, do you want to go back to Earth? Maybe this is like a nice little refresh for anybody heading up there, where it's a refresh on life, on, I guess, opportunity and everything else in between. And once again, who gets to go there? What's the official language of the moon? Is English the unified language of international space? Because that's what they speak in the movies. Everyone, what did I watch? Predator Badlands? That's kind of the universal language, is English, allegedly. And so somehow they were able to communicate with each other. But I do think it's fascinating. This is cool on paper. I'm just a little skeptical about a lot of things that were said, including all three phases of the plan, the budget, as well as the timeline. So what could go wrong? Once again, not an expert, and your boy is recovering from a cold, flu, and or COVID. So we are alive. We're going to be a little more consistent this week. You could probably still hear a little bit in my nose. I still have like residual symptoms, but we're alive. And I watched a lot of random things on Netflix. Okay, this has nothing to do with this video. So if you're here for NASA talk, you can click away. It's a wrap. It's done. But I watched this show on Netflix, and it just... maybe I'll do a deeper dive on a different video, even though I think I'm very bad at reviewing TV shows and movies like that, because I feel like I have a lot of thoughts in my head, and then I can jot it down like on a Google Doc, but then my mind races to a bunch of other things. So I don't know how productive me reviewing things really is. It's not. But it was this, you know what? It's fascinating, and we will talk about it on a different video, because I don't think this is the video for it. This is a very long outro, so who knows what's going to happen on the next video. Maybe we'll talk about the random K-drama that I watched on Netflix. But we are live once again. Consistency, 2 videos a week. Me ranting, chatting about random stuff going on in the world. Sometimes it's serious, sometimes it's silly, and sometimes it's just the right balance of both. So either way, we'll see you on the next video, and thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and got milk?
Show me your best LeBron.
Oh, you know, liberal silencer?
Do a barrel roll. Do a barrel roll. Do a barrel roll. Do a barrel roll.